When many people hear biologists describe the era that we are currently living in as a mass extinction and one of the worst, I think a lot of people are surprised. It may not seem like a mass extinction. In my first video, I explained that we often pay attention to the larger animals, and a lot of them are already extinct. As humanity spread throughout the world, two-thirds of the largest animals became extinct in prehistoric times, and many have become extinct since. Many of the modern extinctions are in smaller animals, including insects and fungi and plants and groups which we may not be overly familiar with. Also, I'd like to point out that many of these extinctions are occurring in places where we don't live. And I'd like to begin by talking about El Yunque in Puerto Rico, which is the only national park in the United States, which is a tropical rainforest. It is not that big. It's only 43 square miles. It's about the size of Disney World. But nevertheless, it is the home of great biodiversity. 150 different fern species live in this area, 50 different orchid species. 240 tree species are found in this park, including 23 species found nowhere else in the world. If you were to say go to an area which was 43 square miles in, say, the state of New York, you would find nowhere near this biodiversity. The same is true of animal species. 13 different species of frog, 11 species of bats, and at one site more than 1,200 species of insects were found. A comparable area in a temperate zone simply does not have this biodiversity. And so one point I'd like to make is that more tropical regions, say El Yunque in Puerto Rico, or the Amazon in Brazil, or Zaire, or Indonesia, these areas have far more species in smaller spaces than we are accustomed to in temperate regions. And so one of the reasons that you might not appreciate the gravity of a mass extinction is that the majority of species don't live where you do if you live in a temperate zone. They live in more tropical areas. Secondly, while many species alive today are generalists and can adapt to many different types of habitats and can be found over broad geographic ranges, many others are specialists which can survive only in a narrow set of environmental conditions, maybe depending on other living things which also survive only a subset of environmental conditions. And many of them have very small ranges. And because of that, many of these species are relatively rare. And so, if we are talking about rare species, a rare frog, a rare bat, a rare insect, a rare plant, that does not live in a part of the world where you do, it could understandably occur that these organisms become endangered and approach extinction without your even knowing they existed. And to be quite honest, science may not know that they exist. We are still discovering species, and we are fairly certain that species are becoming extinct before they are even identified and described scientifically. And so we are living in one of the worst periods of extinction in the last 500 million years. And in the near future, it may rank as second worst. We might not appreciate that because a lot of the large animals which we tend to notice are already missing. And a lot of the other animals being affected might not live where we are or might be already rare so that we don't even know that they exist.